All right. Hey, good evening, guys. Welcome. Glad to have you jumping on, joining us tonight. We are going to talk about mindset this evening. For those who are with us, who have been doing this for a little while, it's been about 3 months for most of the people in the current chat group that we have going on. And I love that because 3 months is the point at where most people have developed new habits by this point in time. That said, there is a book that we are going to start reading. We're going to start changing things up. I have some thoughts for what I'm going to be changing up in the next month for your benefit. Um, with that, we're going to be reading Gap in the Gain, and I love Gap in the Gain, even though I have not yet finished reading it. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. I will finish it in the next day. And as I wrap it up, again, I'm reading it twice in a row consecutively. I don't think I've done that with a book in a couple of years. Reading this book up, it has given me so much to think about. It's given me so many tools. But before I get too deep into the book, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I want to share with you here quickly. Let me go ahead and I'm going to share screen and get this going. All right. Hopefully you can see YouTube on my screen right now.
Yeah, I can see it, Mike.
Cool. Thank you.
Felt empty.
Felt empty.
I hadn't found more mental limits. It just came into my head. 50, 50, 50.
50 Ironmans, 50 states in just 50 days.
Meets the Iron Cowboy, and he's very tired, but you were fighting through it. They say he once wore a cowboy hat in the crowd of athletes, and the name stuck.
It seemed pretty much impossible. Comical, yeah, terrifying.
He said, "Will you coach me?" And I said, "I don't think we can do it."
This guy thinks his chance is crazy.
The first few days were really chaotic. They had forgotten my shoes.
So everybody wears like these smaller shoes.
Hey, I'll wear that hat.
That's about in. You're good.
Past 48 hours. And then 2 Ironmans and 5 hours of sleep.
Reminder, he's like, God, so I don't really think he's good.
James says he can't feel his legs.
He'd sit down physically. It was so crazy to watch. 1, 2, snoring. You do 1, 2, 3 snoring on a bike, you crash. And all of a sudden he's like, I can't do this. I stopped chasing society's dream. And I went after my dreams.
This is what we as human beings can actually do.
Whatever trouble you're having, whatever it's hard, there's a finish line to all of this. You just got to get through today. It's awesome. Fight.
What?
We'll be there with your bike waiting for you like we always are.
Always.
What is this? Yeah.
All right. Hopefully you were able to see that well. I want to go with a shorter one in case it was kind of glitchy. And I am more than happy to send that link out. Actually, I will send out a link for the entire story because that is such a short version of the story. But you guys, if you were able to see that, James had the chance to say hello to James a week and a half ago in Las Vegas. Should have grabbed a picture with him. To say he's an inspiration, he took all the societal norms, right? Think about the societal norms that we have in our life right now. We have to do, you have to work in a certain way. You have to make a certain amount of money. You have to, whatever it may be, your kids have to do this, that, and the other. And he looked at that. He looked at 3 world records and said, well, that's the normal. Why would I want to break it by 1? Why not do what I can do, what I want to do? And that might not be your calling. That's totally fine. But his example of just chasing, exactly, Tom, thank you, like just chasing his own goals. He said, this is something that I am going to do, and I'm going to do it for an example, but I'm not going to do it for an example for anybody but my family. I can influence my household. I can influence my children. There was part of the story, 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states. There's a whole lot to that story, but there was a point in time when he fell down and he was almost to the end of the marathon. And his coach is like, oh, this is bad. And he's like, I can't go anymore. I can't go. Like my body won't work. And his coach is like, well, what are we doing? He's like, I don't know. And he's like, well, you said you were going to do this. You gave us your word. Hang on a second. I know exactly what to do. And so they called up James's 9-year-old daughter. And the coach said, hey, you need to talk to your dad. He's down on the ground. And so they put his daughter on the phone, and I can't even imagine. And she gets on the phone. She says, Daddy, can you walk across the finish line for me? And he said, no, sweetie, I can't. And she said, can you try running for me? And he said, I can't. I can't move. And she said, well, can you cartwheel to the finish line for me, Daddy? And he said, I can. I can. Because at that point in time in his life, in his mind, he could not go back on his word. He said he was going to do this. He said he was going to set the example. He was going to show his kids what it was to keep his word to them. And he got up through all the pain and all the things that he went through. I'm not going to lie. There are some questionable decisions that were made. But there's another point to that I'm going to come around to. He made it. And as he was approaching the finish line of that marathon section of the Ironman, he did a cartwheel for his daughter. If you're not familiar with an Ironman, just to lay it out real quick, I should probably have started with that. An Ironman is it's 2.67 miles of swimming, if I'm not mistaken, followed by a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, followed by a bike ride of more than 100 miles. If Brenda were here, I know they had a mini Ironman up in State College. It's a workout, to say the least. To run one every day for 50 days, just the logistics behind it are incredible. And I love the fact that he kept his word, and I want to share that because there are times in our journey where we're challenged. And it's super easy to hit the snooze button. I'm guilty of it. I'm super guilty of it. And maybe we don't do the workout we said we were going to do. And all of a sudden we're not eating the food that we said we're going to eat. And we're pushing our bedtime back because we're scrolling or we're distracted, or maybe we didn't do the things that we needed to do earlier in the day in the time that we needed to do them in. And it's not to say that life doesn't happen. Sometimes we need to accommodate, but are we doing the things that we said we were going to do? James being that example. But there's another part to the story. And if we overlook it, then I think we're missing out on the big picture, because James was able to sleep 5 hours a day in between these Ironman triathlons that he was running. Not a lot of time, but the reason he was able to do that is because he had a team around him helping him. They forgot his shoes the one race in the very beginning, and somebody loaned him a pair of shoes. And, maybe his bike wasn't the best. And they had other people that came out and loaned him a bike. And they had all these medical professionals on board that were helping him and getting him IV fluids and doing all the things that they needed to do. His job, his part of the mission was to do the hard work. But that's not to say that his wife wasn't there in the background. She was one of the ones driving the van from state to state to state while he was resting and back so that he could reach this goal. His kids were cheering him on. He wouldn't have been able to finish up. He wouldn't have finished that race had it not been for his daughter saying, "Daddy, do you think you could just cartwheel to the finish line for me?" And as we think about that mission and that journey that he set for himself, it's kind of important to make sure we're paying attention to the fact there was never a question as to what he was doing. He communicated it to those who were in with him, and they knew that he was going to do it. They also knew that he needed to be held accountable, and he asked for that. That's something that we should be applying in our day-to-day life. Whether it's fitness goals, whether it's professional goals, whether we are trying to be better parents, whatever it may be, accountability is not a dirty word. And so he had his accountability, he had his professionals, he had his coaches who were there to say, "Hey, you got to wake up. You got to wake up because we're in a different state and you're racing here in a half hour. You need to get your nutrients. You need to get whatever it is that you're going to get because you're about to swim." And so the link that I share, I will share his entire story. It's 45 minutes, the way that he shared it with us. There are a few times that the camera caught him. One, he was being interviewed by a news agency, and afterward his wife pulled him aside and said, "Honey, I need you to act like you're educated. Just please." And you think about it, you see this guy's face. He is so tired, right? But he's powering through. He's building that mental strength as he's going. And you can see it in another video. They recorded him being woken one morning, coming out of the van, and you can just see in his eyes the fire, hate, and discontent. And he actually highlighted that video as he was talking to us, and he said, "Right there, that's when I told the bully in my head to shut up." The Gap and the Gain is something that I want everybody in this group to read, because there is no doubt in my mind we all have a bully in our brain. We all have a bully that travels along with us and fights us and picks fights with us and sometimes just won't shut up. We need to be the ones. We need to build the strength to recognize when we're letting that bully win. And we are the ones that will teach those around us, those who look up to us, those who we influence, what it looks like when we have accountability, when we have the mental tenacity to overcome hard things. Everybody in this group, I'm looking at the people on this call. We have all overcome hard things in our life. I know that for an absolute fact. We have all been exposed to things. We have all been through experiences. We have all had hard things in our life. This is just a continuation of that, because we are going to keep on getting stronger mentally as we are on this challenge. And when we get stronger, when we pass that on, when we share that with our friends, with our accountability partner, when we show up for the gym on those mornings that we wanted to quit and we get in the workout and we walk out to the car and say, "God, that sucked. Thank God I did it. It's worth it. And you're worth it." So Gap and the Gain is the name of the book. Again, it doesn't, maybe they use the word bully in there. That's a word I'm pulling from James. I don't know if I could do an Ironman. I probably could if I decided I could. I could, for fact. I think any one of us could if we made the decision that we could. But that said, maybe that's not your calling. Maybe your calling is that you want to be able to row a certain distance in a certain time right now. You want to be able to have time with the kids. You want to be able to lose 30 or 40 pounds because you know it's going to help you not just get off medication, but you're going to be able to wear the clothes that you want to wear again. There are so many things that we can still do in our life. And the example that James set, even though it was only for his home, was simply doing what you said you were going to do. Quit making excuses, tell the bully to shut up, and go with it. So that said, I want to share a little bit about how we're going to do Gap in the Gain and what we have coming up in the next month. And this is going to be a relatively short call. I know it's already 8:50. Stay hydrated. We got on the sandbar today. It was hot. Guys, Gap in the Gain, if you're listening to it, it's like a 4.5, 5 hour listen in total. And that includes interviews with the psychologist, psychotherapist who came up with the concept. It's a super simple concept. There's a gap, which is your mind is in the deficit. There's the gain, which is your mind is thinking about the positive. Great example. Leave me a 1 in the chat if you have negative memories about being a teenager. I'll go ahead and I'm a 1. 1, yeah, like couple 1s. All right, so negative memories about being a teenager. We can't change our childhood, can't change our teenage years. Teenage years, I mean, God, we were trying to figure out maybe romance. That was traumatic. Trying to figure out our bodies, that was more traumatic. Trying to figure out, what do I even believe in? Who am I? What do I like to do, right? We all had our teenage trauma. But what if we don't remember it as trauma? What if we change the way that we remember it? What if we change the way that we think about it and we rephrase that to, these are the things that led me to where I am? If you hadn't had that relationship in high school, if you hadn't had that experience with that friend, would you be the same person that you are today? Would you be where you are in life? And would you find rewards in the things that you find so rewarding now, had you not had those experiences? Gap in the Gain is phenomenal. As you guys listen to it, read it, whatever it is, I would encourage you, have a journal by your side. I did not do this the first time. I like to mow the lawn and listen to my audiobooks. I'm going to listen to it sitting up in bed, wherever it may be, maybe with the kids. Christine and I have agreed the kids are going to listen to the book with us as well. So we're going to go for a long car ride, turn off their phones, and just hit play. So we'll have a captive audience. It's that good of a book. Take notes, do the exercises, think about the things, and then next week and the week after, we will go through the book and we will talk about the exercise that we've done. For those who are okay with doing so, I'll put you on the spot, let you talk about your experiences, how you rephrased your perspective, and what that actually means for you. That being the more important, rephrasing a perspective it's important, don't get me wrong. But if we can come away with the motivation and use those memories, the gap from what it is, and move that into the gain, we can be so much more successful. You know, that for the relevance of what we're doing here is we're talking about like weight loss and nutrition and doing all the things. There may be some perceptions. Maybe you saw a post where my friend Dina lost 100 pounds since I think she started in September. That's great. You don't have to do that. You probably don't have 100 pounds to lose, but more than that, that's what her body wanted to do. There's nothing to say your body is the same. Your body has not been through the same experiences. So set your own standard, do it for yourself, follow your own calling, discard all of the noise, all the nonsense on social media, and let's do this for you. Next week, we will open up with intention settings for the rest of the year. That's going to be your big goals where we're looking to go with your health, with your activities, with anything else that you want to do in your society, in community. I say in your society, in your community. And then we'll talk about the book. And like I said, it'll merely be a guided discussion because my intention is to start turning this Zoom over to you guys so that y'all can lead and really have your buy-in on it. That said, it's 8:55 this evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, so in 5 minutes, Alita, Cheryl, and Megan are going to be jumping on and talk about how to earn $300 in a couple of hours. These ladies are a blast. If you can join us, the link is already in the chat group. I hope that you can. Other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I really, really appreciate you guys being on here because I know for your own accountability, for your own progress, this is going to be huge for you, and I'm excited to be starting this up as we're getting going here. So I can't wait. I'll see you guys on the next Zoom. Have a good night.